Welcome to Digital Asset News. We take the top stories in digital assets and cryptocurrencies and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. First of all, this channel and this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial planner, a financial analyst, or anything that has to do with finances. I'm just a small business owner that has a keen interest in cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Second, if you could help us beat the YouTube algorithm, that would be fantastic. Just asking if you could like the video, leave a comment below, or subscribe. Now, you don't have to do all three of those things, but one of those will be greatly appreciated. Also, for the comment, it could be anything that has to do with this video. It could be that the video is great or the video sucks. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that it's relevant to the video itself. So let's get to it. First of all, two big stories today. Crypto firm tackles Bitcoin's $1 million question, which is the Bitcoin halving hype? Could it actually spark a rally, or is it just a gigantic dud? And the second story, CEO Alexander Holmes of giant payments MoneyGram asked the question, what is it going to take to perfect XRP remittances, and where do you go from here? Now today we're only going to go over two stories because this story goes very deep into the XRP information, and based upon what I've read in the comment section, there's a lot of questions about XRP, and I'd say everybody's split down the middle. Seems like half think it's a scam and worthless, and the other half think it's a lifesaver. And I can tell you right now that there is a lot of information out there, and the answer is a little bit more complex than just a yes or a no. So let's get to it. First off, what about this Bitcoin halving? So as we know, or maybe don't know, approximately every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that miners earn for processing transactions is slashed in half. Man, that sucks. Can you imagine working at your job for, 3-4 years, and your boss come up to you and going, Jimmy, you're doing a great job sweeping these floors. Could you do the same amount of work next week? And also, we're going to cut your payments in half. So sorry about that. Keep up the good job. That would suck, but that is essentially what Bitcoin miners have to do. Moving on, it talks about, it's a reminder, Bitcoin halving, that Bitcoin supply is scarce with a maximum number of coins set at 21 million. Some analysts, including Plan B and Julian Hosp, say the stock-to-flow ratio, which calculates the current supply of a given commodity divided by the amount produced per year, indicates Bitcoin's perpetual halvings will help lift Bitcoin to $1 million or more over the next decade. That seems like a ridiculous number to me, but that's what these guys say, so who knows. But an increasing number of people, including Meltem Demirors, Chief Strategy Officer of digital asset manager CoinShares, say the next halving could be pretty much a dud, so we'll see. What I found interesting was that an outside research firm, CoinMetrics, they just took a look at the whole debate and basically just came out of this. If you guys aren't familiar with this Bitcoin halving, so it happens every 4 years like I talked about. It happened, 2012 was the first one, and then roughly about 6 months to a year, you see an all-time high. Then the Bitcoin halving that happened in 2016, we saw an enormous high in 2017 in December. And man, if you weren't around, that was awesome. So many great days. It was crazy. On the first, let's say on a Thursday, you could look at the Bitcoin price and it was like 8,000. You could refresh the screen and it was $9,000. I kid you not, it was amazing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I, like a lot of investors, FOMO'd in because I used to buy on emotion, which is what most people do, and I'm trying not to do these days, trying to be a little bit more regimented and minimizing risks. Anyhow, moving on. So that is essentially the halving, and everything went up. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Crapcoin, didn't matter. Everything went up to the moon. But what goes up must come down, and that's what happened in 2018 and this year, 2019. Which sucked, but that's just the way it is. So if you're new to this space, just got in, congratulations, you're at the right time. And you're a smart 1%er because you, listening to this video, are just a 1% of the population who has gotten in at the right time. I mean, it's perfect. Now, don't take my advice, this is not financial advice, but I believe it is the right time to snatch up some pretty cheap coins and or Bitcoin and see what happens in the next bull run. But we'll see. Anyhow, moving on with this article, the firm They said that the hype and anticipation associated with halvings may also play a role in convincing investors to jump in, forming a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. They state, while all information regarding halvings is widely known, the evidence suggests that market participants still act upon halvings in part because of a strong narrative that halvings are positive for prices. Even if no logical cause and effect relationship exists between halvings and prices, the people they get a self-fulfilling increase. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy and everybody FOMOs in. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It gets boring. So here's the thing. Everybody buys on emotion, right? And I'm going to tell you a story. So I was in sales for a number of years. I was in medical device sales. I would go around and I would teach doctors and nurses and therapists how to use a specific device for wound healing. Salespeople know one thing, and that is that you play into the emotion, because people do not buy on logic. Most people don't. They will buy an emotion and they'll back it up on logic. So when I went to go talk to somebody new, I would first talk about our most amazing stories of how we helped heal patients. Now, it was a good time, and these patients did heal, and it was a great product. It's still being used today, and it's helped millions of people across the world. However, when this thing was new, no one had any idea what I was talking about. It was a device which used negative pressure wound therapy, and it would close these wounds and it would heal people. People didn't want to hear about it because it wasn't logical. When I brought up the emotional part, then everything changed. Because they go, oh, well, I hear about these stories and everything works out pretty well. And I do this the same in my online business. And you will see salespeople, when you go down and buy a car, they will do the same thing. Their job is to get you into that car to drive it around, so you'll say, you know what, I don't really need a Corvette, but god damn, it's nice. Feels good. Feels fast. Looks good. Makes me look better. Or whatever. Same thing with a truck. I don't know if I need this truck, but boy, it feels great. And I can see myself going for a wheeling. And all that crazy nonsense that goes along with it. So there's a saying, the feel of the wheel seals the deal. Basically, it's just this. Emotion drives price. Emotion drives buying. And guess what emotion is going to also drive? FOMO people. So right now, you've probably heard a lot about the halving going on and all these different types of things. And I believe that emotion will eventually just drive the price up. Is the stock to flow ratio already counted in? Maybe. I don't know. I told you I'm not anything to do with finances, but I can tell you this. People are emotional creatures. They are susceptible to our reptilian brain, fight or flight, all that good stuff. So I believe, yeah, it actually will happen that way. But I could be wrong. Moving on. Perfecting instant XRP remittances, key goal at payments giant MoneyGram. So basically, remittances is getting paid. You send money across borders, and there's a service for that. And if you haven't ever sent money across the border, it's a pain in the ass. And it's also super expensive, and it takes forever. I call it. It just sucks. Sucks. SUC. It's super slow. Takes 3 to 5 days. It's unreliable. Apparently, like 6% of those things fail, and it's costly. So I'm not a big fan, and I have to do it right now, and it's a pain. Anyhow, MoneyGram, the CEO of the Texas-based money transfer giant MoneyGram, says the company is working to optimize and perfect the use of XRP as an engine for moving money across borders. Now, I want you to pay attention. They are using XRP. They're not using just Ripple, because Ripple has 2 products. They have XCurrent, and they have XRapid, which they now call on-demand liquidity. And on-demand liquidity uses XRP. These guys, MoneyGram, very big company, is using XRP. MoneyGram partnered with Ripple and began using its XRP-based payment solution, ODL, this past summer, not too long ago. We're looking at December 27th, 2019, so maybe 6 months, 7 months, not for sure. The question I had, this is what I asked myself, well, how much have they used? Because this is what it, well, how much have you really used? How much have you done? Does XRP even have utility? Do you even have utility, bro? Which is what I get asked in the in the comment section. And funny you should ask. So MoneyGram CEO says 100 million in total volume was pushed through Ripple and XRP. And this was on December 19th, 2019. So yeah, seems like a pretty successful venture so far. And as we get into this, I'm going to show you they saved a lot of money. And not only do they save a lot of money, they saved a lot of their clients' money. And I don't know about you, but I like saving money. especially if I'm a business and also a customer. Anyhow, let's go back. So he states, we're using Ripple's cryptocurrency for now, XRP as a medium of exchange to move from dollars to pesos, and XRP sits in the middle. What the value of all that becomes longer term, I think, is interesting. He goes on to state, but what I will say is that to the extent that we can perfect the model, that we can truly facilitate instant flow of funds, instant money movement with the data, and allow a customer in country A to get money into country B seamlessly and efficiently, I think it's what everyone is demanding. God damn, you're damn right. I could use that myself, because you know what? When you have to send money to family in other countries, I'm not saying for me, I'm just saying for everybody else. Think about the people that go from third world country to first world country, and they go over there and they're making a better life for themselves, but they're sending money back to their families, right? Well, they have to get eaten up in costs because they're using this old legacy system. So all that time that they work, it goes into these legacy systems because they have all these fees, and it's crazy. Now, for me, I think to myself, damn, if I can send an email to Croatia, I mean anywhere in the world in seconds, why can't I move my money from one part of my bank to another bank? Just ridiculous, right? I mean, even my business account for my other businesses, it takes me a while. It takes me about 24 hours to get from my business account to my personal account because it is different banks. And I am flabbergasted. And that's if it's on like a weekday. If it's on a weekend, well, forget about it. On holidays, forget it. So it's expensive. It just sucks. Like I said, slow, unreliable, and costly. Moving forward, as for the great debate on whether emerging payments technologies can one day replace SWIFT, and if you don't know, SWIFT is the legacy system that connects all these different big, huge banks. You know, our favorite, JP Morgan, SBCI, all those gigantors, Wells Fargo. And it's a network payment system, and it's very inefficient. It was built in the 70s, so you can imagine how fantastic that works. It's just awful. Anyhow, it's a massive payment message network with more than 10,000 institutions on board. Holmes says the industry leader is king for a reason, and that there is plenty of room for competition. So my question when I read this was, well, damn, how much does SWIFT move per day and per month and per year? Let's take a look. So the SWIFT International Payment Network handles more than $1.25 quadrillion per annum yearly. CHIPS, another type of legacy system, transfers $400 trillion, while FedWire moves $900 trillion. That's per year. So not good at math, but if you're transferring, let's say, $400 trillion per year, that's roughly about $1 trillion a day, right? And if you're doing $900 trillion, that's 369. It's like $3 trillion a day, something like that. And I don't want to get the quadrillion because I'm not even going to pretend that I can break that down. So it's a lot of money. So, and the question, of course, then is, why do these transactions take place? Remittances, business paying vendors, the purchase of stocks, international exchanges, fund international real estate, offshore employees, bill payments, expats, reputation, blah, 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 all that stuff. Okay. So then I was thinking to myself, well, if that's the case, what if XRP took a sliver of that pie? What if they took 500 billion away? Because remember in 2017, when we hit our all-time highs, I think XRP was around 320, somewhere around there, right? So that was just on speculation, ladies and gentlemen. Speculation. People like you and me, retail investors, 1%ers. So there was no institutions coming in at that point, not many, not like there is in the last 2 years that we've seen. So let's take a look. There is this thing, and I'll put in the description below, the market cap calculator. And so I already put this in. It was like $3.20 was the highest all-time high for XRP. And its circulating supply is 100 billion. That's its max circulating. So I was like, well, if that's the max, let's say it all gets out there, right? At that point, I think it was much lower. But its market cap then is 320 billion. So if XRP is worth $3.20, its circulating supply is 100 billion. That's the max it will ever have, right? Then 320 billion has to be in it. Okay, well that worked itself out in the last bull run. So let's take a look here. And $2, 337. Damn, I was way off. Market cap was 130 billion. 24-hour volume, 8 billion, something like that. I don't know what the circulating supply was. I have no idea. But for the sake of argument, let's just say that everything, the floodgates is open, and all 100 billion are out there circulating. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, it could happen. So $3.20. So let's say, we do 500 billion. What would that be? That'd be like, I'm pretty sure, I think, my math is right. Awesome. So for $5, if XRP takes a sliver of Swift, a sliver of that Fed wire, sliver of the other one, forgot the name, and it says, well, we're going to get 500 billion a year. That's how much we're going to do. Well, now XRP is worth $5. Well, okay. Well, what if it did like 1 trillion? Hang with me. So that's $10 a coin. Okay, that's 1 trillion. It's a lot of money. And then if it's $20, 2 trillion, that's a lot of money, right? Let's be honest. The market cap for the cryptocurrency digital asset market in 2017 was roughly 840 billion. That was at its peak. To hit 2 trillion for just one coin, is that going to happen? I don't know. But I will tell you this. There's a lot of money sloshing around out there, and it's interesting to see just exactly how much it is. Okay, moving forward in the article. CEO of MoneyGram states, I think replacing incumbents like Swift are large aspirations. I think any incumbent has a foothold in the market for a reason. Every bank is tied into Swift. Most major corporations are tied into Swift. So whether you can ever displace or completely replace is always an interesting thought to ponder, but certainly securing large and larger pieces of that pie is definitely not off the table. So this also got me thinking, what's the likelihood that a disruptive technology like XRP could take over a legacy system within our lifetime? I mean, come on. They've been around since the 70s. They're in place. They got a foothold. Everybody believes in them. All the banks and everybody else. What is that possible? I mean, really, honestly. Let's take a look real quick. For my channel, I'm looking at predominantly males between the ages of 22 to 43 or 44. So a lot of you guys, and there's some gals, that what I'm going to show you you may not remember because you were so young. Look, I'm over 40 and I can remember all this stuff. I know exactly how it was, and I can tell you right now, it's amazing to see how things progress. This was at the beginning of the internet age. It's called the biggest .com companies, and it's by a YouTube video provider called Data is Beautiful, or a YouTuber. And he's great. It's great stuff. And it's like going back through memory lane. But I want to show you, I'm going to speed it up here. You can see right here, Amazon was 2 billion at that point. I think Jeff Bezos now is worth 100 billion. I can't remember. It's like ridiculous. Yahoo, that's still around, 4 billion. Lycos, if you're young, you have no idea what that is. Excite, Netscape, again, you have no idea what that is if you're like in the 20s. And this is what we used when we first got around to it. So it's pretty amazing as time goes on and everything switches. And you can see like things just kind of fall out. And then look, there's this thing called eBay in 98. What the hell is that? And all of a sudden, boom, 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 it starts to take over these huge companies. And they're not directly, in competition. Amazon, well, actually, that's not true. Amazon wasn't fighting over eBay for that e-commerce space, but it was kind of a little bit different, right? But things keep going. And then you start to see that these websites start to really tailor off. And then Yahoo, man, look at Yahoo, was a beast back then. Just making money like crazy. Then Excite drops off. Booking.com is still there. IHC, I don't even know what the hell that is. And then keeps going and going. And another couple seconds or so, we're going to see a product come in that didn't really exist until right around here. Netflix. And look, it had this $282 million. That's adorable. Netflix with your low market cap, you loser. And then it drops off because things happen. Everybody's like, I can remember when Netflix came out. I was like, why the hell would I want that? I got a Hollywood Video. Hollywood Video, if you can remember that. Or Blockbuster. I just go on the store and rent one and then I can come back and just pop it in. Why would I want Netflix when, first of all, my internet connection isn't that fast anyhow, and the videos are all glitchy and they kind of suck, and I don't even understand. It doesn't make any sense to me, right? So that just drops off, and then it starts to come back. I'm like, all right, what's this? This is an 03, and it moves forward, and then it keeps building and going. And look, I want you to still also look at this. CEO Amazon is still way down here, and eBay is kicking its ass. It's just because everybody's like, what? You want me to go online and purchase stuff? Why would I do that? I got Sears down the street and Woolworths. That makes no sense. That's dumb. And then Salesforce, that's still around. And then, there's this thing called Google, search engine. That's weird because I was using Lycos a couple years ago. That seemed to work, and Netscape. And this was backed by huge companies. Google is just some stupid startup. And we're going, we're walking. We're seeing Netflix still hanging around 2005, 6. See, these are the top .com companies. What is happening to its biggest competitor, which was Blockbuster Video? I want to take you through this. This is what happened in 2004. 2004. This is Netflix in 2004. It's a .com company, and people were like, .com, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna bust at some point. It's a bubble. They take a look at Netflix and they're like, well, that's not gonna last. Because it's just how it is, right? The big legacy systems last. In 2004, Blockbuster had 9,000 stores globally and was worth around $5 billion, which is paltry to Netflix and it wasn't worth anything, right? Well, then what happened? Just 6 years later, Blockbuster files for bankruptcy as it attempts to wipe out $1 billion in debt. Its only rival in the U.S., Movie Gallery, is liquidated, leaving the company as the only remaining national video rental chain. Company is delisted. 2012, Dish scraps plans to make Blockbuster into a Netflix rival. Amazing. You had a company that had everything going for it: liquidity, money, name recognition, and it couldn't compete with some shitty startup. Because they had first mover advantage, they understood the market, and they knew exactly what they were doing. So when I hear about comments about like, well, Swift will just upgrade, well, Swift will just do this, or we'll get a dollar coin, or we'll get a this or that, I don't think that's going to happen, my friends. I think that the first mover advantage XRP, who's working with banks, they're going to take over this pie, and that's what happens. Here's a little nugget of information, though, a little trivia. In '97, the moment that Blockbuster inadvertently triggered its own downfall, customer Reed Hastings was charged $40 for being late in returning Apollo 13. Out of frustration, Hastings went on to create Netflix. Yeah, you know who else is frustrated? Every single customer who has to pay an enormous amount of fees to move their money across borders. You know who else is frustrated? It's not just them. It's the small banks and the small financial institutions and all these payment processors, because guess what? They have to pay those banks and they have to pay Swift. And let me tell you, there was a video I watched with different bankers and Brad Garlinghouse, and they said, we're sick of paying all these banks, these big banks, like HSBIC, what is the other one? JP Morgan, I mean, all these huge banks for all these fees just to move money around because they're the big players. They're sick of it. If something comes in there where you can get something that's cheaper, faster, and better, and it just works, then sure, why not? Which leads me to my next point. Why would these banks want to use XRP? Because they can just use Ripple. There's this thing called XCurrent and XRapid, or on-demand liquidity. Why use XRP? Because, I mean, the other system sucks, it's slow, it's unreliable, and it's costly, but Ripple can solve that. So why use XRP? I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm going to show you a video. It's a quick 2 minutes. And that question was asked by Yahoo Finance to Brad Garlinghouse, and I can't say it any better. So let's watch.
So when we read this in the news, and we were talking about this earlier with Chain, we have the CEO of Chain up here. When we read headlines that another bank or another big client has signed on with Ripple, what does that really mean in practice? What it means is that someone has signed up to use our technology to enable cross-border payment flows. I think what the confusion that happens in the marketplace is that our core product, kind of our flagship product, is called XCurrent. And XCurrent is solving really the messaging and settlement problem that exists in the financial system today. Humorously, frankly, I point out to people that if the three of us decided we needed to get $10,000 or 10,000 pounds to London today, the fastest way for us to do that is to go buy a ticket, EWR or JFK, and fly it there. And that's just a fact. Obviously, that seems crazy in a world of the internet. I can stream video from the space station. So what that XCurrent is enabling is real-time messaging, real-time settlement between banks. The confusion that I think people are like, well, wait a minute, how's XRP fit? XRP is used in our second product called XRapid. XRapid is solving a liquidity problem. So it's the messaging is, I have an existing pool of capital between the Bank of Andy and the Bank of Dan. You're using big bank, very successful bank.
Bank of Dan is a good one.
Bank of Dan. Andy's bank, a lot of compliance issues.
Oh.
These two banks are using XCurrent to settle fiat. A key point here. What happens though is you decide you want to settle with the Bank of Brad. The Bank of Brad is in Argentina and we're using pesos. You don't want to pre-fund pesos in my bank. Now, part of that is because that requires an outlay of capital, that's dormant capital. Part of that is because you now have a compliance check that you're doing annually and quarterly. There's cost associated with that. And if it's the Argentinian peso, you have an inflation problem. So you put $100,000 US worth of, or probably $100 million worth of US dollars there that is now going to be worth less over time. What XRapid allows you to do is to have real-time liquidity. The Bank of Andy can sell a dollar, buy XRP. That XRP can then be moved to an Argentinian digital asset exchange. You can sell the XRP and buy an Argentinian peso, and now you have good liquid funds in less than 10 seconds in another market.
Okay, so that's a lot to take in, but I just want to make it simple. If you're MoneyGram, banks don't trust other banks, which is crazy because we don't trust banks either. But banks don't trust other banks and they need some form of payment. So how do they do that? How do they move money across? Well, if you want to have cross-border payments to Thailand, you have to put money, real money, into that bank in Thailand. You have to pre-fund all these accounts. They're called Nostro Vostro. And you have to pre-fund them and they have to pre-fund you. And so what that means is that if you're a global company like MoneyGram, you're looking at billions upon billions of pre-funding of money that just sits there waiting for a customer to come in and go, hey, I need to send this to Yugoslavia. Oh, great. Well, we have funds over there that have been sitting there for 6 months. So yeah, we can do that for you, Pally. And that's it. And if you think about that, if you were a business, how would you like to do that? And just like what Brad said here, how would you like to put your money in Venezuela or some other places where they have these crazy inflationary rates and you're losing money every day because maybe someone's not coming in, or maybe you have such low volume it doesn't matter. So with XRP, what it's going to allow these people to do is go, look, banks are just like us. They're just like what I talked about with Netflix, and just like what I talked about with Blockbuster. People don't trust, companies don't trust, big businesses doesn't trust things they don't know and aren't familiar with. It takes a little bit of time. But once they see it, they're like, okay, wait. So you're telling me that I can use this one product over here called XCurrent, and it's fast, and it's reliable, it doesn't cost so much for me and my customers? Well, that's cool. We'll start with that. I don't know about this cryptocurrency XRP. Isn't that to use to fund terrorists and for the, all the different sex trade slaves and cocaine and cartels? And they're like, yeah, okay, pal, whatever. But for XCurrent, you want to start with that? Sure, we'll start with that. It's called a tripwire in sales. You get them in with something that they know. Now these banks still have to pre-fund everything, but at least with XCurrent, it's a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. Now what they're going to come to them is go, okay, you 200 banks that we have, you guys like the XCurrent? Great. Here's what we're going to do. Why don't we start trialing this XRP? It saves you even more money. It's even more faster. Oh, and guess what? all those billions of dollars that you have laying around in all the banks and everywhere else, you can just take that back, and you can make loans. You can use the payment. You can become more liquidity, that's why it's called on-demand liquidity. And you can just take all that money back and do whatever you want with it. Now, how great would that be if you're a business? You're like, whoa, I can take all that money back. Yeah, go right ahead. And then, also, all those payments that you hate to pay to all those banks, yeah, you don't have to do it no more. So just pay us a fraction of a penny for each transaction, which is plenty for us. And we'll call you even Steven. Sounds good? Sounds good. Okay. So the question then is, well, why isn't every bank on board? Why do they do that? Because, like I said, they just have to wait and until they get comfortable with it. And that's it. Also, I was going to talk about, I have another business where I sell products on Amazon. I do a lot of volume. And I thought it would be awesome if, instead of me paying a company in China to prepay everything, or to prepay my distributor here in America, if I could say, hey, I just want you to ship that into Amazon, and then once it sells, then I'll pay you. Because it doesn't work like that. I got to pay up front. And that's a liquidity problem. Not to get off topic, just don't worry about that example. Think about the example I just gave. Nostro Vostro, pre-funding, faster, fast, it's reliable, not so costly. The next question I was thinking to myself, because this is what I see a lot in the comment section. Well, hey bro, isn't XRP or Ripple, the company, isn't the product XRP not decentralized? Because Ripple owns what? They own 60% of all the XRP out there, and everything's centralized just in Ripple, which is the evil empire. And no, it's not. So let's take a look real quick. So this is an article published in, I think it was October 2019. It says almost 80% of XRP ledger validators are not related to Ripple, meaning that 20% are. So if you look at what is decentralized, I can tell you, if you're new, you may not remember this, but in 2018, when Bitmain and all those different other miners, there was like 50-some%, I think. It was around 50%. Don't quote me, 45 to 55. It was all in those three companies, and that is centralized, and they all had a hand in that. Now, if you look at Ripple, they say, you know what, we don't want to do that. We want to decentralize. We want our validators to not be us and become more decentralized. And I thought about it, I'm like, well, it's just an article. What does that prove? Well, let's take a look at what's called the Validator Registry. And I'm going to leave this in the link below. This is right from xrpcharts.ripple.com, their domain. And you can see these different domains, these are the ones that own the validators. Now Ripple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the rest are just some other validators. That's all I can tell you. So as far as like, is it decentralized? Yes, it is decentralized. I mean, look, EOS, if you're looking at that one, that has like 21 validators, and they say that's decentralized. Bitcoin, I think, is becoming, the miners have moved across. Bitmain lost a lot of their power, but here's what I see. 2020 is coming up. The halving's coming up. Jimmy, good job sweeping these floors, but I'm only going to pay you half, but do the same work. So all these different miners out there, same thing. Jimmy, great job in mining and paying for this electricity. I know the electricity costs didn't go down. I know your machine's getting slower, but I'm going to pay you half of what you did just a couple months ago. So, Merry Christmas. And with that, I think some of the smaller miners are going to close up shop, and you're going to see a consolidation of the big mining companies, and we're back at the same problem again. Just my opinion, not financial advice. Anyhow, I want to say thanks for sticking with me through these rants, and leave a comment below, because I know you got some comments, and they are the best part of this channel. I love the comments. Some of them are hilarious, and some are sad, and some are just good, and some are encouraging. I just want to tell you guys this. Remember, we're all 1%ers here. We're all 1%ers. So if your coin doesn't make it, or if your coin does, or whatever else, be supportive a little bit more, right? because that's what we're all in this for, to pretty much bring this world into a little more of a robust, technologically advanced of where it should be place and help people. Anyhow, leave a comment below, like the video if you like it, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.